Hello and welcome back to Tactical Shaminho. Last week I went through the blueprints of the Stoke-Alona philosophy, and this week I want to go through the second part of the 7-part series around giving you more detail around the finer details of the way we play down the wings. I'll start off with this clip because I think this illustrates the basics quite well. So just to start off with, when the winger is out wide, as close to that touchline as possible, I want their body shape when they're receiving the ball to be side on, because that gives them the opportunity to receive the ball at feet, or alternatively, if the ball's played through, they can run onto it. So when the winger has the ball in that sort of area, I want them to keep an eye out in this pocket of space here, because either the attacking midfielder is going to be there or the striker. And what I want the winger to do is pass into the feet. And if you notice, because of that pocket of space, those opposition players will start being attracted to the ball, and therefore what it does allows the winger to run into the space behind the fullback, creating that space to allow the attacking midfielder to put in a through ball. Now, the other thing is for the winger to take note, because if it is compact in there, it's going to be difficult for the attacking midfielder to put a through ball. So they've got to time that pass into the feet. Here's another example that's similar but tighter and a little bit more difficult. So in this example, the winger receives their ball to their feet. However, unlike the previous example, they're not side on, they've got their back to goal. They've also got an added pressure of being tight markedly by an opposition player, and therefore it's difficult to play into that pocket of space because that player could get tackled or an interception happening. On top of that, the attacking midfielder is being marked quite tightly as well, with a tracking back opposition player. So what the winger needs to do in this instance is create a bit of space. So with their back to the opposition, protecting the ball, they need to move the ball outwards like this in a semicircle, and then back inwards again with a semicircle to shake off that opposition player and create a bit of space for themselves to pass into that pocket of space and give enough time for that attacking midfielder to come into that pocket of space too. Once that ball is now with the cam, it's up to the cam now to start buying time for the winger to get behind the opposition fullback by attracting these players into them and letting the winger to ghost in back behind the fullback into the space to cross. This example shows two phases in the build-up. And the first phase is the winger receives the ball to their feet and chooses to pass back to the fullback because he doesn't have a direct pass to the attacking midfielder, which is being blocked off by this opposition player. Now when the fullback does get the ball, they instantly are attracting this opposition player and has the opportunity to pass into the attacking midfielder in that pocket of space. So when the attacking midfielder receives the ball, they've got limited options in providing a direct threat to the opposition. And the first reason is because the attacking midfielder is being closed down by these three opposition players and closing down that space quite quickly. The other reason is that the winger is too far away from the opposition fullback to receive a through ball. And the third reason is that if the attacking midfielder was to do a through ball and the winger was further forward, the distance would be too great, and therefore the accuracy of that through ball is diminished and is a higher chance of an interception happening. So the real option here is for the attacking midfielder to pass the ball to the feet of the winger so that these opposition players start being attracted to the ball, and it should create space for the attacking midfielder once again. Now when the winger has the ball, we're in the second phase of this build up. And remember when I said previously that we're constantly trying to exploit the space behind the opposition fullback and create a one-on-one situation with them so that the winger can get behind and cross the ball. So the winger has the ball here, and on previous examples the wingers pass forwards into the pocket of space. Now in this example the space is slightly behind them where the attacking midfielder is. So what the winger needs to do is make this fullback commit to them, and in that moment pass into the attacking midfielder, and that gives the opportunity for the winger to get in behind the fullback and the attacking midfielder to pass that through ball, allowing plenty of space and time for the winger to throw in a cross. Whenever the ball is played through behind the fullback, I want the winger to take the first window of opportunity to cross that ball. However, this example illustrates when you don't take that opportunity. So as you can see here, the winger does have an opportunity to cross because they've got enough space and enough time to throw in a swinging cross to this striker here. But they've chosen the wrong option to cut back in, and ultimately it results in loss of possession. So here's another example where the winger misses out on the first window of opportunity to cross the ball. The ball's played through to the winger, and you notice here with the opposition fullback marking very tightly and closing the gap to prevent a cross going in. Now it's natural here, you don't have a window there to cross. What the winger has done correctly here is cut back in, and now in this moment you have a window of opportunity here and enough space to cross the ball in to this striker to head in the ball. However, they've chosen again to try and beat the player for whatever reason, and that ultimately results in again a loss of possession. So always take the first window of opportunity. Sometimes there just isn't a window of opportunity available. So in this example, the ball's played into the winger, and the first mistake the winger does is that they take on that fullback, and they get lucky, they get through. But the thing is, when they do get through, they are surrounded by opposition players here, 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 here. So what they need to do is drag the ball back and play it back into the attacking midfielder, because the opposition team shape is distorted and the ball can be played onto the other side, which will clearly have much more room to cross. But they choose the wrong option and they get in a very bad cross. There may be extremely rare occasions when the winger is running down the wing and there may not be a first opportunity to cross. So therefore they cut back and there's no cutback cross available. And on top of that, there may not be an opportunity to pass back to the attacking midfielder. So taking all those things into account, as well as the fact that you are still one-on-one with the opposition fullback, you can use a piece of skill to get beyond that fullback and be in a space to cross. So there's 3 skills that I would highly recommend: the ball roll, the stop and turn, and the heel to toe. So here's the on-screen instructions for the ball roll. In my opinion, it's probably the most easiest skill of the 3 that I'm going to go through, and likely to be the most effective. So in this example, the ball's played through and you can see the winger is very tight up against the opposition fullback. So there's no real opportunity to cross first time, and cutting back will probably be quite difficult because there's a risk of being tackled. So in this example, you can see that the winger chooses to do the ball roll and the opposition fullback is so committed to going forwards this way, and therefore that creates a space in an optimal area here, and that can allow the winger to move in there and put in a very good cross. The next piece of skill is a stop and turn, otherwise known as the McGeady spin. And on the screen you can see how to execute this piece of skill with your controller. Similar to the last piece of skill, you use this when the opposition fullback is shoulder to shoulder with the winger, and the winger needs to execute it to come into the optimum space for them to create a good amount of time for them to cross the ball for the striker to head in. And now we come on to the Ronaldo chop, or the heel to toe. This one's trickier than the previous bits of skills because it uses a combination of buttons, and you can see it's kind of like the fake shot with a diagonal downwards flick of the right analog stick. So within this example, you can see the winger again going down the wing with the opposition fullback on his shoulder. And similar to all the previous examples that I said, he needs to get into that optimal area to cross in the ball. He does the piece of skill and he's exposed that area now with the opposition fullback committed down the line, and he's able to cross in the ball for the striker to head in the ball. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Facebook, and most importantly, don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. See you next week.